Alrighty, so the legendary Jesse Lee Peterson versus Kyle Kulinski debate, which we have been waiting for a minute now, has happened. I did watch it live. I saw it live. I have to say that it's a total clown show. I didn't expect, like, obviously I already knew that this guy's a joke, right? Jesse Lee Peterson's a total joke, and we all knew that, right? But I was not prepared for how much of a clown show this was going to be. I mean, this guy is so hilarious. So he takes these awkward breaks throughout the show, and he plays like this, like, royalty-free music, and it's hilarious. It sounds like you're at a disco party. Some people think that the breaks were tactically placed when Jesse Lee needed to Google something. I totally disagree. I mean, he's doing a radio show, and he just needs to play ads. Jesse Lee doesn't care about being wrong. He's wrong, and he knows it. Well, sorry, he doesn't know it. He doesn't care about being wrong. There is no legitimacy with this guy in terms of actually being right. He's just being himself. Now, this is a hilarious clip here. So this is going to be a clip where some pretty crappy behavior from Jesse Lee Peterson and his thought processes. And he's going to basically blame sick people for getting sick. Actually, first he's going to say that it's a feminine thing to want to help poor people and to beef up the welfare state. It's a very feminine thing, and as males, biologically speaking, we're supposed to be logical and transcend the illogical thought of wanting to help the sick and the sick and the poor. So brace yourselves. This is pretty damn hilarious.
Would you consider yourself a liberal?
I mean, yeah, that's one word you could use for me. I prefer, social democratic, or populist left is another phrase I like, or just leftist. I mean, I broadly take the label liberal, but I don't necessarily use that label.
Right. And do you realize that it's abnormal for a man to be a liberal or socialist or secular? That's abnormal for a man.
No, sir, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Men who are liberals are females. They have a female mentality, female emotions.
So if you believe in a social safety net, that's a feminine thing. If you think that we should have a society where when people are at their lowest, that there's a helping hand there for them and that they can get the bare minimums to keep life going, you think that that's a feminine thing, or is that just an empathetic and logical thing?
It's a feminine thing, because there are times when you shouldn't help a person like that. But if you're into your emotions, you will help them, and it would be bad for them, not necessarily good. But if you are a logical person, as a man should be, then you would see when to help and not to help, and it wouldn't be based on what you think or feel. What do you think about that?
I disagree. So what if somebody, for example, is going bankrupt because of their medical bills and because they don't have insurance and they can't afford it? What should society do?
A good question. Let me take a break and I'll respond to that. Don't let me forget.
I will not.
When I come back, I'll respond to that.
All right.
Amazing.
What if somebody is going bankrupt because of medical bills because they couldn't afford the premium, and they're a hardworking person, but they're faced with the choice of either go bankrupt or don't afford their treatment, and henceforth they would pass away? Do you think society should lend them a helping hand?
If that's it's a working class person who has been, as you said, doing the right thing, then we should help to a certain extent. And then they have to get on their own, because when you have situations like that in your life, it was something that you missed, that you didn't see happening in your life, right? You were not paying attention. And so as a result, that opportunity is like a wake-up call for you. So we should also allow them the opportunity to see what they are missing in their lives. And that way they don't become addicted to someone else taking care of them, as the most black people have done.
So do you blame people for their physical ailments if somebody gets cancer or something and they're in that situation? Is it because they missed something in their lives?
That can be possible, yes. Absolutely.
Ooh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
What about if somebody works full time and they don't make enough money to survive? Should society step in and make sure that they can make ends meet, or no?
What do you mean they don't make enough money to survive?
So it's a category. It's a category called the working poor. We have tens of millions of them in the U.S. where people work a full-time job, but they don't make enough money to survive. Do you think that society should step in.
No,
And,
absolutely no,
Okay.
because that doesn't make any sense. If they're working full time, they
You're right.
need
It makes no sense.
they need to check themselves because maybe they're overspending, maybe they're getting things that they don't need. You know, it's impossible to have a full-time job and not be able to make it in life.
Unfortunately, that's not true.
Those people, a lot of people are overspending. They go beyond their budget.
Well,
and
if you work at Walmart, you make minimum
or
wage,
they can
you don't
get
make enough money to survive.
That's not true.
Yeah,
Not
it is
true at
true.
all. No.
No, it is true.
That
That's
person,
why you need to go to the social safety net because they don't pay you enough to live.
no, they're not paying attention to how they're spending their money. They're not managing.
Okay.
They're probably secular people, and their lives are out of control. But let me ask.
I mean, I really shouldn't have to say this, but I guess I have to. I mean, obviously, Jesse Lee Peterson is just flat out wrong, right? There's nothing feminine about wanting to help the sick and the poor. It's just the empathy thing that any decent human being does. But also something really interesting to note as well with the whole feminine thing, which again, when I respond to claims like these, it gives off the impression that I'm taking something as a legitimate or serious claim. That's totally wrong. I'm not taking him serious in any way. But let's just assume this guy was someone who we didn't think was a joke. This guy is a Christian, and one of the questions that he was asked was about religion. And I just find it truly remarkable. Remember what Jesus said. He said, I'm going to paraphrase here because I don't remember the exact wording of the line, but basically he said it's harder for a rich man to get into heaven than it is for a camel to walk through the eye of a needle, which to my interpretation and understanding, which I guess is as good as anyone else's at this point, is, if you're rich, you're not really going to be able to get into heaven, because how's a camel going to walk through a needle? It can't. So, without inflicting massive amounts of pain. So what I get from that is you can't be rich and go to heaven. And also Jesus was supposedly, obviously there's a lot of contradicting stuff when it comes to Jesus and all the other holy books and that holy book as well. But it's just hilarious because he's supposed to be the one who cared about immigrants, refugees, the sick, and the poor. And Jesse Lee Peterson started off this conversation with that as well, with the whole God stuff. But the fact that he's not even close to emulating what is stated by Jesus or religion or, Christianity is laughable. So some pretty tier 1 grade A asshole behavior here from Jesse Lee Peterson, where he's blaming sick people for getting sick when obviously it's not their fault for getting ailments. Which again, talking about the religious thing, there are no missteps that you can take to just spontaneously get cancer or something like that. But the point here being, again, rolling back to the religion stuff because he likes to propagate it so much. I wouldn't see that as anything but an argument against religion, because it's okay, these people who you believe aren't taking any missteps, but they are getting these chronic ailments like cancer and different things like that. Wouldn't that be an argument against why is God doing that? That's a pretty fucked up person to do that, right? Or whatever God is. So anyways, sick people, it's not the blame or the part of sick people for getting sick with spontaneous ailments like cancer and other things like that. So obviously, it's just some grade A tier 1 nonsense. But again, we can't take this guy seriously. Here's something super interesting though, right? He is astonished at the idea, and he denies the existence of human beings working 40-hour plus work weeks and still qualifying for welfare. Now, obviously, we know Jesse Lee Peterson is a very dumb guy, right? He doesn't know anything. He's very stupid. But that is the reaction that should be the reaction upon a claim like that made from a person who doesn't know anything, right? Do you see what I'm saying? To me, it's mind-blowing that we live in the United States of America, the richest nation in the history of ever, right? And there are people who work full-time. Not only do they not make enough money to make ends meet, but they qualify for welfare. That is mind-blowing, dude. Can you believe that? There are people working full-time jobs who still qualify for public aid to get them out of... Remember, you got to be dirt poor to qualify for welfare, okay? And the fact that you can work, and these obviously do happen. We talk about it with Amazon, where Amazon has these employees who are, on public welfare, and the person footing the bill for that isn't Amazon or Jeff Bezos, who makes an insane, unbelievable, unprecedented amount of money, richest man on, we've in the world we've ever seen. He's at like $130 billion of net worth at this point. So he's not footing the bill for that. The taxpayer is footing the bill for that. You're footing the bill for that. So, ironically, obviously his argument of, or his claim that these don't exist is wrong outright, right? Like, empirically speaking, just factually false. But the point I want to make is, we know that this guy doesn't know anything, and so knowing that he doesn't know anything, that's a good reaction to get. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, for someone who doesn't know it, that should be the reaction you get. You go, what? No way. It's impossible for someone to work 40 hours a week and still qualify for welfare. That should be the reaction you get. But after you find out the facts and the numbers and the evidence, your response shouldn't be, oh, well, it's feminine to want to help those people who are working tireless hours. By the way, working 40 hours a week at some job at Amazon, dude, I mean, that's fucking tough, okay? That's tough. That's hard. That's hard work, tough labor. And so I already feel bad for them just for doing the job. Forget the pay. But the pay is also garbage. So it's like, it's a double, like, wow, you're in a bad rap. So the response shouldn't be, oh yeah, you know what, fuck them. That's not the response, because, oh, we're males and therefore we need to transcend this illogical thought processes employed by these feminine men and these women. No, obviously not. The dude's obviously, an a-hole, and it's just ridiculous. But man, is this interesting. Again, I recommend you go check out the whole thing, but I will make more videos talking about this.